the best wide-angle lens that you can buy for your camera right now? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about two very interesting lenses. We're going to be talking about the Laowa 12mm f2.8 and the Laowa 12mm f2.8. Wait a second. Alright, you caught me. There are two different versions of this lens. One is an older DSLR version, and the newer mirrorless version has two variants. We have the autofocus version, and then this is the manual focus version, which I have right here for L-mount. So obviously it's the same lens, but in different designs. As you can see, they're pretty comparable in terms of size right here. What's the difference between these two 12mm lenses? The main differences you're going to find are obviously in the optical design, because one is optically designed for mirrorless and the other is optically designed for DSLR, which means the plane of focus is shifted. In order to get a similar plane of focus, in order to mount this DSLR lens similarly to this mirrorless lens on a mirrorless body, you need to use an adapter. So that creates a bit of distance right here, which makes this lens quite a bit bigger than this lens now. So these two pieces combined are what make this lens usable on modern cameras, whereas this design is much more streamlined and easy to use. Also, it's more identifiable as a Laowa lens due to its silver coloring. So if I take the front off of this lens, you can see we have a very convex design at the front element of this lens, which means that you can't put filters directly onto this lens. You would need an adapter, and that is exactly what I got. I have this adapter to 95mm filter threads. I don't have any 95mm filters, but I do have a matte box, which this slides into very nicely, and it gives me the ability to use diffusion, ND filters, CPLs, anything that I would need to use on this lens I'm able to. However, there's also another option on this lens that the mirrorless option does not have. Let's say you have a rear ND filter or a rear diffusion filter. You would be able to put that in between the lens and the camera. And because this is an EF mount lens, there are a lot of adapters available for a lot of different mounts, meaning that you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to, wow, I just dropped that. Meaning you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to your diffusion and your filtering on this lens, despite it not having a very easy to use front filter thread. On the newer mirrorless design, the complete opposite is the case. As you can see, when I take the hood off of this, we have a front filter thread that is 72mm, and then on top of it, the front element of this lens does not protrude past the filter thread. This gives me a much easier time in terms of adapting different filters and matte boxes to the front of this lens, and it is going to be all front filtration. So you're not going to have any space in the back right here to put any filtration or ND unless you have built-in NDs on your camera. Just to show you how easy it is, here is a 72 to 77mm filter step up, and we can just slide this on. And then on top of the 72 to 77mm step-up ring, I have another step-up ring that gives me a full 95mm outer diameter, which allows me to attach a matte box. So if I want to attach this lens to a matte box, all I need to do is slot it in, tighten it down, and now we have a really nice, small, compact matte box setup. Your mileage may vary when it comes to how much of the matte box you're seeing due to this being such a wide lens. If you want to achieve a similar result on this DSLR version, of course we need the 95mm outer diameter step-up ring. But then we also need a spacer ring right here, because the step-up ring, while it has a 95mm thread, it's slightly thicker, probably around 98mm. So in order to fit it on our matte box, we just attach this spacer right here. We detach the matte box from over here. And now we have our wonderful matte box on the older DSLR version, which is awesome because this is going to be compatible with not just my S5 II, but also my FX30, a Z8, a Canon R5C. This EF mount makes it available to connect to all mirrorless mounts, which is chef's kiss. So with the physical overview out of the way, what is the performance like on this lens? Obviously, we have an f2.8 aperture all the way down to f22. It's a very wide 12mm lens, and I would say that this is also a very sharp 12mm lens. While the majority of experience that I have shooting 12mm is with the older DSLR version of the Laowa 12mm, the newer version basically makes it so much easier for me in terms of shooting photography. I'd say this is a more video-focused lens, and that is also true due to the cine version that exists of it. I'm definitely putting up some picture of that at the moment right now on screen. However, for photos, and especially if you get the autofocus version that exists on Z-mount and E-mount for this lens, then you can expect a much more lightweight, streamlined experience to take photos with. Here are some examples of the photos that I took on this lens. I really love the perspective that you get at 12 millimeters. It's really fun for fashion. You can get the lens right in a model's face and have limbs going all over the place. It's a really fun and expressive way to shoot fashion, and anything for that matter, but especially fashion I think does well on this kind of lens. Combining the weight of this lens along with the adapter, it just makes your camera a lot more front heavy. It doesn't make it impossible to shoot fashion or photos by any means, and you might be shooting landscapes with a 12 millimeter, in which case you'd be really hard pressed to find a tripod that wouldn't be able to hold this up. That was a double negative. Basically, this is light enough that you'd be able to bring it anywhere. It's just not quite as light and easy to hold as this. I mean, when they sent me this lens, I was just shook by how small it was. Another thing that differs in terms of the experience of shooting on these two lenses is also the focus throw. So on this lens, the DSLR version has a much longer focus throw. I'd say it's close to 180 to 110 degrees, whereas this mirrorless version is a lot shorter of a throw. It's much closer to somewhere between 90 and 100 degree focus throw. I'm going to research exactly how long each focus throw is and put it up on screen right here, but obviously a shorter focus throw is better for when you're taking photos, and a longer focus throw helps you with those focus pulls for video work. I also have a cine mod with my gears on here to help me do focus pulls or use LiDAR autofocus with this lens, which surprisingly works really well. I love using this lens for video. This is a much better photo lens. I'd say that's probably the takeaway from this video. That's the TLDR, is that if you want to shoot really great photos, or if you're trying to do content with autofocus, this is the lens for you. The newer design, they're both equally as sharp. I didn't notice one being significantly sharper than the other. I'm also not someone who looks for extreme sharpness in my photos. That's just not who I am. If you're someone who wants the most sharp thing possible, yeah, I guess my videos won't help you very much. I do really love the original design, and that is the reason why I purchased it. It slots in really nicely with my full Zeiss CP3 set. It's a really nice addition. It like cuts really well with those lenses. And the Laowa 12mm mirrorless version is a lot of fun to use. I do wish that they had autofocus on the L-mount version, of course, because I wish every lens was compatible with L-mount autofocus. Leica, guys, get it together. Either way, I think that this is an easy recommendation to anyone who's trying to get into wide-angle photography. It's super affordable, it's fun to use, and most importantly, I think it looks really sick. A beautiful lens like this just helps you be motivated to go outside and shoot more. At least that's the way I think about it. If you're choosing between this lens and the 10mm, 10mm is a lot of fun, but it might be too wide for, I'd say, most people. 12mm is a lot more approachable. Composition starts to get really difficult as you get into wider angle lenses. It's like much harder at 16mm than it is at 18. 12 to 16 is a huge jump, and 10mm is almost, that's really like expert territory if you're doing composition with a 10mm lens. Have you guys tried this lens? Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if I should do more reviews on Laowa lenses, because I love them and they're so much fun, and yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.